You're listening to the Game of Inches podcast, powered by Mayflower Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Jacob Smith and Andrew McGinnis.
What is up? This is episode 44, Game of Inches podcast. Feels like we started episode 1 just yesterday. We were flying through with these episodes. Happy to have some guests on the past couple of weeks. Today, it's just Jake and I. We're breaking down some soccer, talking about some NFL, and just catching up on all things Mayflower. Next week, obviously, we'll have an off week for the Super Bowl. So we'll try and have all kinds of different people on for their opinions, their takes, betting predictions, props, and maybe even just have as many people as we can and make one big compilation video of a bunch of different takes. But it should be interesting. We'll break it down, the 2 games, the conference championship games this week, and, of course, some soccer as well. But I'm pumped, man. I'm coming home, making the drive right after this podcast. Hopefully we can watch that soccer game together, Canada versus USA. But Canada played Honduras last night and got the job done.
Yeah, it was a scrappy affair. We've been following this for quite a bit now. Obviously, on the golf trip we were just talking about, we watched the U.S.-Canada first leg of that 1-1 draw. That was exhilarating game. I know we were fucking loaded, but we were also going crazy. We were definitely enjoying that game. But no, it was nice to see us pull out a win. It's always tough to go to Honduras. Like right now in Canada, we all know it's snowing, and these guys that are playing across Europe, like they're playing in a lot of cold weather games right now. And to fly to Honduras and play in plus 30 weather after not playing in any sort of heat like that in months, definitely a tough challenge. We saw some of the guys last night cramping up, and unfortunately we saw an injury with Petit going off, but the boys played well, and I think it's a good start into Sunday's game, because that game, to me, if we can find a way to just get a point, I think that puts us in a really, really, really good spot to qualify for the World Cup. And I've been beating this drum the whole time. When we qualify, I will be in Qatar. I'm going. I can't wait. I think we have all the tools to do it. We just need to kind of focus in here and just get after it and do a job.
You'll be reporting live from Mayflower, from Qatar, cheering on Team Canada. That'd be awesome to go there, though. Yeah, it's like Kobe Bryant once said, job's not finished. And that's kind of what I keep thinking about when we talk about this, the World Cup qualifier with Canada. Everyone's getting excited. The casual soccer fans, the hardcore soccer fans, people that just love cheering on their country. People are getting exciting. We have to talk about, Jake, the Alphonso Davies commentary yesterday. That was pretty cool. I think he ended up in that span of like a minute and a half speaking 3 different languages. Could have been 4 even. It was really cool. Obviously, he couldn't be with the team, but it's exciting to see his commentary there. Getting pretty excited.
Yeah, Alfonso's a character. He's somebody that I think streams quite frequently on Twitch, so it wasn't surprising to see him do a live watch along and react to the game. But yeah, his commentary on the Jonathan David goal, I'm not gonna lie, I think I watched it like 7 or 8 times in a row. Like, dude was just electrified for his team, and for somebody that I think holds a lot of pride in playing for Canada and not being able to be there with his guys. And he knows, like, obviously Honduras was bottom of the qualifying group, but everybody that plays in CONCACAF knows, like, going to those countries and playing those away ties are never easy. And it's always hard to sit there at home or on the sideline and watch your guys go to battle. But yeah, I think it was awesome. I think it just brings a little bit more personality to the game, especially where it's so new to a lot of people in Canada. Just seeing the superstar obviously not be there, but still being able to watch him react and, give a little bit of advice here or just commentary on how things are going. I think it was really cool. And it was something that I wasn't really aware of, but when I started seeing the clips, I was like, man, I honestly probably would have watched this.
Yeah, I probably would have watched it too, or at least like tuned in for a couple minutes to see what he was saying. I mean, there's probably so many different things that guy could be doing. So many different, places he could be. Like, obviously, I understand the circumstances right now, but he could have easily just sat on his couch and, had a cold drink or whatever and watched it. But, like, the energy he has, the passion he has, I mean, a lot of athletes are like that. A lot of soccer players are like that. But I don't know, man. I just loved the excitement. Like, he was like there, it was almost like he was one of us. That's what everybody was commenting on Twitter. I said it was all those like the gifs of people saying one of us, because he was just one of us. It was like a fan, he was just a casual, like he was enjoying it just like we would have cheered at home. which just goes to show how exciting it is. I have to wonder that, would a Brazilian player, if they were watching, if on the sidelines, and I'm not trying to start any hot takes, don't worry. I just mean like Canada is just trying to make that mark of a soccer country, right? If another countryman was out for their team for one game, would they be losing their mind like that after scoring a goal against Honduras? And I don't know. Like, everyone's passionate, but man, that was exciting to see him get so pumped up.
I think you're right in like this context where like a team like Brazil is probably going to qualify. So I don't think too many players, if they missed out, like they would be like watching along like that. They might be watching along at home, but maybe not streaming and celebrating like that unless, they have a really big fan affair with the country and the team, even though they're not there. But for other nations, I think absolutely there's probably smaller nations across Europe or across like Asia that, they're in the qualifying. Like I think about like maybe somewhere like in the Asian qualifying with Lebanon, I think they're not going to qualify now, but they had a really good shot and they were actually like kind of like a minnow that was like on the outskirts and like they were back and forth between like, are they going to make it? Are they not going to make it? Ultimately, it doesn't look like they're going to make it now, but I just know from like some of my Lebanese friends, like they were following along, like they're Canadians, but they were following along just like they were in Lebanon. They were super excited because it's not every day these footballing nations or soccer nations, non-soccer nations get a chance to go to the World Cup. So when you have a chance, like it just really captivates you. And I think it's going to take something like us qualifying the World Cup to captivate the nation, right? It's almost like Crosby's goal in the Vancouver Olympics. Like it's just one of those moments. Like people will remember when Canada qualified for the World Cup. And I'm not saying that we're not going to qualify for the World Cup in the future, but it's just one of those redeeming qualities that like we haven't had in so long. So everybody's going to just remember that moment. So I think, it just depends on context, but definitely for the Canadians, you could tell the non-soccer people in our lives, at least, or just people across social media, like you're definitely starting to see more people like tuned in and just kind of like knowing what like needs to happen, how many points Canada's on, like who they're playing. So it's really cool to see for me, at least.
Yeah, and again, I wasn't trying to make any knock towards any other country. It was more so just like you said, to like see the way Canada is gathering around this team. And
definitely
like in Halifax, like we're, Toronto Raptors are literally our own team in the country. Obviously they're Toronto's team, but they're Canada's team. Like how many people were jam-packed downtown Halifax, watching the Raptors play and everything like that. And now picture, a national soccer team that'll be like 10 times that, hopefully. Or even more, so it's super cool to see people that aren't hardcore soccer fans and, get involved and jump on the bandwagon, I guess, so to speak. But I can't wait to watch the USA game. So what exactly do we need right now? Like you said, get a point would be fine against USA. We had Jason ask us in the group chat. He said, like, it'd be pretty difficult for us not to make the World Cup right now. What's your answer to him?
So basically how it's looking is, for those who don't know, that's the top three people from the qualifying out of CONCACAF. So CONCACAF's South America, Canada, or North America, and I believe like the islands, like Haiti and all of those places, right? So the top three nations out of the qualifying get an automatic bid into the World Cup. So like if you just come in the top three out of this qualifying round, you don't have to play any more games. You're going to the World Cup. If you finish fourth, there's a playoff round. And how the playoff round works is basically you're paired up against another continent to play to see who gets to go to the World Cup. So if we somehow came fourth, it looks like we'd be playing Oceania. So that would be New Zealand, probably how it would work out. Just they're usually the best, and that's how they usually get there. But for us right now, we pretty much are going to qualify, I think, inside the top three, barring something drastic happening. But we do still need some things to go our way. So Canada absolutely, I think, needs to take a point at home against the Americans. The Americans look like they have a lot more of their regular first teamers there compared to us this time. Like we're missing Mark Anthony Kaye, obviously. Alphonso Davies is out. Steven Eustachio was out last night. He looks like he's going to be back for the game in Hamilton. He actually just signed in the Portuguese league. He was at a mid-table team. I forget the name, but he actually just signed for Porto. For those who don't know, that's the best team in Portugal. So another Canadian making a huge move to another European giant. They've won Champions Leagues before. So having him back will be huge for us. But we are still missing some people. And the U.S. look like they have a lot of their young players there that are going to be at the World Cup. They're not messing around. They know that it's tight between us, them, and Mexico. And I think they're going to be coming to at least take a point, because that's what we did to them at their home. So I think it's going to be a cagey affair. And then after that, the next, I would say, most important game would be the game against Panama. So absolutely, I think we need 3 points against Panama. And if we could get those two results with the remaining games that we have and against the opponents we have, I think we'll qualify easily. So those are the two games that I would say that people should have marked down and being like, all right, these are almost like must-win games, or we must get a point out of this game.
Awesome. I can't wait. And I'm super excited to see the atmosphere in Hamilton. Obviously, it's going to be cold. It's not expected to be good weather, really. Snowstorm coming here to the East Coast, but Tim Hortons Field, I was there for the Grey Cup. Obviously, huge stadium, and good atmosphere. Hopefully there to cheer on the team. And like we said, obviously the support all over, but I think it means something special for them to have that home field support. So looking forward to it, and hopefully
I just want to mention there, because you're touching on it really quick. It'll be interesting to see, and I don't know if you have any opinions on this, but kind of mentioned it earlier in the group chat, going from plus 30 in Honduras to -10 or -5 or freezing, whatever it's going to be in Hamilton. It's going to be cold.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of impact do you think that's going to have on our players in particular? Because I don't know of any sort of I can't remember where such a drastic temperature difference in a span of 2 games, and the following game means so much for us. Do you know what I mean? It's a very weird circumstance for us. And a lot of people saw like Jason, who said we play very well against them the first time, and it was but it's a different circumstance right now. We're missing a couple of players, the dramatic switch in temperature in game, going from sweating profusely before you even get you know what I mean, before you even get 15 minutes into the game to freezing probably the whole first half is really different. I think it's going to impact the performance, and I think for Canada, you're going to see us maybe not be so aggressive on the counterattack like you saw last night against Honduras. You might actually see us sit in a little bit more and soak up a little bit more of the pressure and just try to make sure we don't concede, because Borjan last night made 2 amazing saves. I think we need to touch on that. Just a quick shout out. People don't know Borjan's been a legend in Canada national soccer, and he made 2 outstanding saves last night, cat-like reflexes. If you haven't seen them, I think you should definitely go watch them. But
how old is he, Jake?
I think he's in his late 30s, to be honest. He's pretty old. He's been I actually remember, I can't remember what club he played for or he plays for, but he actually played Liverpool in a Champions League group stage match.
Wow.
And one of the boys shouted out he was Canadian, and I was like, oh fuck, that's awesome. And then now to see him you know what I mean, actually playing meaningful games for Canada, it's awesome. You're making that connection of wow, this guy might not be playing in Europe's top 3 or 5 leagues, but he's still playing excellent football in another country and coming back to the national team, and it's translating for us. So I think it's really cool to see some of our guys, older and younger, having an impact in Europe and then bringing that back to Canada men's national team and having success.
I just think Canada's riding such a high right now that nothing the weather wouldn't slow them down. I don't know. I know I'm kind of buying into the narrative and to the hype, but of course, it's a difference going from that plus 30. Like you said, I mean, getting off the team bus that is probably air conditioned to just immediately sweating is obviously huge. But, and a lot of these guys, like you mentioned, an important thing to mention too is, like you said, is that these guys are, a lot of them, no one's actually playing in Canada. If you're on this team, you're playing elsewhere. And there's different, temperatures, no matter where you're playing, different parts of the world, different parts of Europe and stuff like that. But I don't know. I personally am buying into the narrative. I'm going to be the cliche person and buying into the fact that you're playing at home, you're playing in Canada, you're off a big win, you can just taste that qualification. But I do believe that they'll sit back just like you. I think that not really like sit back as in like be like shy and conservative, but really kind of take care of the ball for at least the first 15, 20 minutes of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key to victory for us. We are notoriously bad starters. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the Honduras game, but the first, I'd say 3 minutes was just absolute chaos in our end. Like Honduras easily could have scored, but we need to start strong. We need to hold the ball and we need to have some confidence. Obviously, we're looking at the US as a model for what we want to do in growing our national team. Like they have a lot of young guys now that are out playing in Europe, playing in some of the top leagues in the world and actually having success. And I think Canada is kind of looking at that too and being like, well, the US has the ability to have the MLS and try and grow things organically there and have players there and do that route where they're also growing their own league, but also making sure that the talent is getting outside of the US a little bit so they can experience some of that European football and quality and then bring that back to the national team and share that with the guys that maybe necessarily haven't made that move yet, or they might not be able to make that move and they might be career MLS players. And Canada doesn't have their own league, right? So like we are a part of the MLS. The CPL obviously isn't at the level yet of the MLS and the CPL. For most people, I think we've garnered, it's going to be a development league, which is awesome because it gives young people or people of all ages really still a chance to develop and grow and make those moves and have, more success outside the CPL. And I feel like if Canada can just kind of keep emulating a little bit what the US has been doing and making sure their really good homegrown talents are getting out into the world and getting that, almost upper echelon coaching and upper echelon competition. And you'll see the Canada national team will continue to grow immensely.
Yeah. And I think we'll be keeping there were big tabs on this on Instagram, on Twitter, on our YouTube channel, maybe with some reacting clips or clipping some of the stuff we're talking about in these podcasts. And you can guarantee whether if it's next week's episode or if it's a special solo episode, just talking about, just that game in general, we'll have a discussion about that USA versus Canada match. We won't wait, even though next week is going to be all football talk, getting ready for the Super Bowl. That's 2 weeks away. So we're going to be talking lots of soccer. We'll get some reactions to the Canada-USA game. And I will say this. I know I've said this a lot, and I know a lot of soccer fans probably don't care. But I just want to say that watching this type of soccer, cheering my country on, watching even the CPL, cheering on Ox, it's really made me personally not care about quote for quote boring games. And when I say boring, I mean like a 0-0. Because sometimes those are the most high-scoring or high-dangerous chance games. And when I first started getting interested in soccer, it's kind of like the basketball players that say they don't like hockey because there's not enough scoring. Or it's like the hockey players that don't like basketball because there's too much scoring. And every sport is its own. And so I can say for me, someone that grew up playing a sport that, finishes like 100 to 95, I really, really have gotten into these games being 1-0. I could get excited. I could be engaged the entire 90 minutes plus. And I never used to have that, Jake, honestly. And I've watched some games. That's why there's certain teams in the Premier League that I like watching more than others, because I know I'm going to get higher scoring games out of. But especially cheering on my country, Sunday's match could be 0-0, and I'll watch from start to finish.
Definitely. And I just want to mention, too, we play Costa Rica 2 days after that. So on Tuesday, we play Costa Rica, or Wednesday. That's also a huge match. They're in fourth. They're a little bit off the pace from us right now. So if we, again, point, maybe hopefully 3 points, but maybe a point, really big for us. But yeah, I think the big thing that people underestimate about soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, is outside of American football, I think it's the sport that has the most tactics to it. So there's different approaches, different systems, different ways to play, and there's no right one. That's the thing. There's teams that go out there gung-ho, flying around, like early Liverpool Klopp days, that all we cared about was scoring, high pressing, winning the ball back, and just having entertaining football games. And then there's teams like, Burnley, who don't have the money to spend They have to sit back, play strong defensively, be organized, and make sure that they don't make mistakes and capitalize when they have the chances. And I think once you start to have an appreciation of why certain teams do the things they do, it's not because they want to. Nobody wants to sit 11 guys or 10 guys behind the ball, soak up all the pressure in the world, run 11 kilometers, not touch the ball, have, like 30% possession. Nobody wants to play like that. Everybody wants to be playing beautiful football, or you know what I mean? Passing, stringing plays together, like high tempo. Like
that's not always in the cards.
It's not always in the cards. And the beautiful thing is about soccer and football is that teams aren't like the teams that are too proud to adapt or, play an opponent to a certain way are usually the ones that get punished. So if you want to play the way you've been playing against, X, Y, and Z, who aren't very good, and then you go and play against Bayern Munich that way, well, you're going to get punished for that. And that's the beautiful thing that I've taken from the game is that there's no one right way. And once you start to understand, like, there's different ways and the game can be exciting and more than just goals, you'll have such a bigger appreciation for it.
Yeah, and I find one thing cool with soccer too is that after one goal, the entire formation's changed because that team has to now come back. They're not getting the draw anymore. They're not getting a result. The whole formations change, and it's really cool because you could see like a game be 0-0 until the 75th minute, and they could end up being like 3-1. Just because the whole thing changes.
And with the pyramid scheme, meaning like, top flight football, second tier, third tier, there is no safety net. If you finish bottom three, you get relegated and you go to the league below. That means less money. Sometimes for clubs, big players leave because you can't afford their wages or they don't want to play in the second division. They want to, play in the Premier League or play in top flight football across Europe. So every game means something throughout the course of the season. And that's why there's no need for a playoff and there's more tournaments. Is because every game means something. And I think that's just what makes the game to me it's so unique because we don't have anything like that in North America. But I think it's going to be an awesome qualifier. I think, tomorrow I'm going to give out my prediction. I think we tie again 1-1. We're going to need Jonathan David to be huge again. His goal last night, we didn't really touch on it, but go watch the goal. And for those who don't watch soccer, for him to take the first chest, that ball was like absolutely smashed at him. The Liam Fraser pass. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I saw that. Yeah,
he smashed that ball at him to try and get it through. And the touch that David took on his first touch with his chest to pop the ball up in the air, the second one to shoulder it up in the air a little bit further, and then the third touch to head it down to put it into his path to chip the keeper. And the chip was otherworldly, but that was an awesome goal. I think he's going to have to be huge for us. And I think Kyle Larin, he's Canada's top goal scorer. Didn't really do much last night, and we're going to need that guy's clinical ability. He's going to have to hopefully score or at least try to create some things because I think Canada's will be soaking up a lot defensively, and we're going to need those two guys up top to really push the pace. And same with Tajon Buchanan. He had the first goal or the own goal. Either way, it was going to be an assist or an own goal. The guy was sitting right there to tap it in, or that guy had to turn it into his own net.
In soccer, I think that's no problem. I still call it his credit. He deserved it. He worked towards it.
He just made a big money move big money move for MLS to the Belgian Pro League and Club Bruges. So he's another guy that's going to be really crucial for us. And then I think the game against Costa Rica, depending on how the game against the U.S. goes, if we lose or tie, I think we'll be super aggressive in that game against Costa Rica. If we win or we tie with a really good performance, I think Canada might be a little bit more conservative in that game against Costa Rica and maybe look just to nick a 1-0 win or, tie 1-1 or 0-0. But I'm really excited. I think the next two games are really big for us. And if somehow we got all 6 points, I do believe that we would be one game away from automatically qualifying mathematically. So overall, it's a big next two games.
Man, the way we're talking right now, I just wish the game was tonight. I wish we could watch some. It's 2 days away. Let's talk a little bit of football. We had Matt on 2 weeks ago. We had Arthur DeCesar, bookmaker, on last week. And the funny thing is, we had Arthur on last week, and one of the questions I asked him was, is it a pretty blanket statement? Which is something I probably pretty much already knew, but does the house, do the public bet favorites and overs? And his answer was yes. And if you look at what happened last week, unders and dogs. I mean, we saw some dog. I mean, actually, besides that Bills and Chiefs game, obviously, but that one shouldn't even have squeaked over. Really, the dogs were barking. And whether you want to
Absolutely.
complain about the overtime rules or not, those guys could have played overtime until it was 5 a.m. Somebody had to win. So, yeah, I thought it was super interesting. Tennessee couldn't really get it done. They actually got out coached, in my opinion. So now we got the Bengals, Chiefs, and we got the Rams and the Niners. Unfortunately, my Packers are out. I'm over it. I don't even want to talk about last week. I want to jump into this week. But hey, we got to talk about last week a little bit here. But what were your overall thoughts, and what are you thinking about heading into this week?
So just before my overall thoughts, because you're my guy and I don't want you to be stressed driving back to Halifax, I will spare you on the Packers talk this week. At some point, we do need to have a conversation, though, because that is a very, very, very interesting offseason in Green Bay and what's going to happen there. And, all the things that led up to the game, after the game, the things that Aaron have been saying. But I'll spare you on that this week.
I've got things to say, too. Don't worry. I'll
spare you. Maybe next week we'll jump into it real quick. But my overall thoughts on the weekend was that was probably the best weekend of football ever. Every game was a one-score game. Every game finished in the last play of the game. 2 walk-off field goals and a walk-off touchdown, obviously. Wow. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing more you could ask for. Obviously, Bills Chiefs was the absolute highlight of the weekend. Maybe top game ever, maybe top 3 game ever. I haven't been, alive long enough to remember, all the things previous, but for the games that I can remember, obviously the Patriots game meant more. And the Patriots played really well, but Atlanta sucked. Do you know what I mean? This game was like 2 juggernauts trading punches back and forth, and you didn't know who was going to win. And I think just in terms of overall, just being a neutral, I was a neutral in that game. I didn't care who was going to win after that game started going back and forth. I was like, who's going to win? This is bananas. I was cheering when Gabriel Davis got a touchdown. I was cheering when the Chiefs hit the field goal. I was cheering when Kelsey caught the touchdown.
Those are the best, man.
I didn't care. I was like, this is awesome. But for the other games, I would say, I don't know what Tom was doing in the first half of that game. My guy likes to turn it on late, but it was too little too late. Starting to sound like he's going to hang it up, which is super disappointing. I've only grown to start respecting and giving my admiration to Tom in the last couple of years. I've got over my grudge of him beating us in our first Super Bowl. We came back and got our get back against him. We won our Super Bowl. So now it's all love between me and Tom. But it sucks to hear those rumors. You obviously don't want to see one of the greats go, especially on that sort of note where it was, too little too late. We could have seen another epic comeback. Unfortunately, he fell short. And Joe Shiesty, man. Joe Shiesty, face of the NFL. He's coming, boy. I was a huge hater. Didn't believe in them. Didn't think they were going to be able to do this. They're nice, man. And Evan McPherson calling out the game-winning field goal to the backup quarterback, stud. I don't have that confidence in anything. That's
what hard, man.
Pick up basketball. I don't even call, in when the ball's in the air.
I wouldn't call a layup.
You know what I mean? This guy's out here banging game winners, but I think it was just an excellent weekend of football. And what game am I missing that I haven't touched? I didn't say yet. Oh, we're skipping Green Bay. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing, buddy. I'm just playing. That was a little bit of a troll, but yeah, overall, great weekend.
You can touch on that if you want, but
nah, we'll save that, buddy.
I was just gonna say, how the hell does Tampa Bay let Cooper Kupp get back to back after the insane comeback they had?
Yeah,
another fumble from the Rams. Tampa Bay recovers, gets it done, and then all of a sudden they leave the Rams time back to back plays to Cooper Kupp, and I just don't really understand that. I understand he's the best, and I understand he's the Triple Crown leader this year. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Let somebody else beat you. Let somebody else try and get you to field goal range. But I don't know. That really shocked me quite a bit. But look, yeah, Evan McPherson, you mentioned him. I mean, I love to see the field goals got it done. I mean, again, not talking about the Packers game, but there was a field goal to win that game. Sorry?
Over field goals. Shout out Matt Joseph.
Yes.
Shout out Matt Joseph. See, that's why you have people on, bro. My guy put me on the field goal prop. Now it's a mainstay in my bet builders. It's either over 1.5 field goals for each team or over 0.5 field goal for one team, or you just straight up bet both teams under 2.5. I swear you're winning money. Thank you, Matt Josephs.
I'll tell you what, his for this week is over 1.5 for Robbie Gold.
All right, let's go.
So that's what he likes.
Blind tail. Don't even care.
That's the inside info pick right there.
Matt, you're my guy. You got one rider with you at least.
It's like anybody that comes on this show, you got to give Jake a win, and then you're on the team. You're a ride.
For life, man. If you give me one winner, and like, no offense to my boy Hakeem Profits, but my guy gave me 2 picks, and like, it wasn't very good. But I still, I just learned that I'm not an NBA bettor. It wasn't anything against him. It was more so that the NBA and me just don't get along, right? So I stick to the things that I know, and if you get me a winner, we're riding for life. That's all it is.
Hey, hopefully he gives us some winners in Vegas, man. We'll be chilling with him when we go there in a couple months.
You never know. I might be a sidekick. I might just be, peering over his shoulder. What you got there today, Matt? Oh, okay. Nice. But yeah, what do you think of like this weekend's games? Because I feel like the spread in the Cincinnati game is a little outrageous. Is it still 7.5?
Yeah, it depends. 7.5. I thought the books weren't going to budge, but they ended up moving.
Yeah, 7's a nice round number, so I definitely like that a lot more than 7.5. I get the 7.5 because Chiefs go for 2 a lot, especially in certain circumstances. So the 8 points isn't super scary, but I feel like it's just one of those runs, and I almost go back to I forget who I was talking to this about, but do you remember the Super Bowl when it was San Francisco and the Ravens?
Mm-hmm.
Neither of those teams were the best team that year. Like Ray Lewis's last season, he was coming back. They were good, but they weren't great. And same with San Francisco. They were really good, but they weren't the best team in the conference that year. And both teams ended up finding a way to get there. And for me, I feel like this year, like Cincinnati could emulate one of those teams where it's like, you might not be the best team, but you're the hottest right now. You have the chemistry. You have the guy you believe in. Like, for the Ravens, it was Ray Lewis last year. Let's win him a Super Bowl. San Francisco had Colin Kaepernick, new young budding QB, potential face of the league, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like Cincinnati has that with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, where like they could be the next iconic duo. Joe's really kind of like pulling the strings in the media a little bit. He's starting to become a fan favorite with his, I won't call them antics, but, his props at the end of the press conferences and stuff. So I just look at Cincinnati and that point spread and just kind of, I almost just want to bet with Cincinnati because I believe in the story a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like it's all about narratives right now. What narrative are you buying into? I thought that it was going to be like a public dog was going to be Cincy, but it seems like quite a few sharp players are jumping in on them as well. One narrative that I've kind of created that I thought was a little bit backwards than other people, and I thought it was kind of fun to be on a little bit of a different narrative, was that I think that the Chiefs are actually going to have a good start to the game. I think if you want to bet on the Chiefs in this game, you should bet the first half. And if you want to bet the Bengals, bet the full game. And a lot of people think that the Chiefs are going to be riding some high after last week, but if anything, I think it just proved how good their offense is and what they can do, and you have confidence. There's no such thing as a letdown spot to me in the playoffs. So the question is really, do you buy into what the Bengals were able to do against the Tennessee Titans enough to cover 7 as much as you liked what the Chiefs were able to do against the Bills? That's really, to me, the biggest question. And if you answer that question, you really, because Tennessee were no Buffalo Bills last week. That's a fact. They did not put up the same fight against the Bengals as the Buffalo Bills did against the KC Chiefs. The question really in the cards is the point spread, because I'm buying into Burrow. He's been great, of course, but I don't know. If I'm betting this game, gun to my head, if you ask me for a good wager, I would tell somebody Chiefs first half. And I think a lot of people are hating on me for that, but I think Bengals get a little bit caught off guard. And now we got to see what Joe Burrow can do when he's down in the second half.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that at all. I definitely think that the Chiefs, are going to want to not let the game get close. So I think first half they're going to try their best to, put a little distance between themselves. So I definitely think that that's a possibility. Not to move away from what you said there, but kind of to just, I was just thinking, and I remember I heard something, and just building on the bandwagon for the Bengals is, since he hadn't had a playoff since God knows when, Joe Burrow, check mark. Haven't won a road playoff game in God knows since when. Last week, check, playoff. This week, can he make it 2 in a row and first Super Bowl appearance in God knows when? Like, it just seems like the stars are aligning for this guy. It doesn't make sense. And every time I go to make the reasonable decision with the Chiefs, or try and talk the Chiefs, but I'm like, man, it's Joe. And like, the defense played super well against Tennessee. That's something that I think that definitely got overshadowed over the course of the games, is that Tennessee's defense did a good job too. But since he had 3 turnovers, they had the pick to end the game there. Well, put the game to bed, we'll call it, and go down and kick the field goal for the win. And I just think that since he can hang on, and I definitely think they cover the 8 points, or the 7 points. But I do think that you are correct in saying that the Chiefs are going to look to come out and keep things rolling and try to put some distance between them and the Bengals in the first half.
I think the biggest player in this game is T. Higgins, the biggest player in this game, because you look at what happened with Gabriel Davis last week. You look at what happened with Stephon Diggs. Where was he? You had a hat trick, I'm pretty sure, from Gabriel Davis of touchdowns.
Four.
Yeah,
200 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
Career.
So you're going to need game. I'm not saying T. Higgins is going to do that, but you and Tyrann Mathieu, I believe, is out, right?
So I heard today that he actually was waiting to get back from the independent neurologist. So I think that's the final step to be able to play. So that person basically today would have had the final say. I don't know if it came out yet or not, but today he would have had the final say on whether he was good to go or not. So from what I saw, Andy Reid was kind of like more hinting towards that he was going to play this week.
Okay. Well, if he does, that almost just backs up what I'm saying about T. Higgins. Like, we're going to need. I still think this could be a game where Jamar Chase and Higgins have a good day. But if I'm isolating anybody here, I'm isolating T. Higgins to have a big day, because it's going to have to be a supporting cast type of day for Cincinnati. We're going to have to see Mixon, not just on the ground, but his receiving game as well out the backfield. So it's going to be interesting, but there's just so many weapons. You saw what they were able to do in 13 seconds, the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see. But again, if we're not talking about just winning the game, talking about point spreads, let's talk about what happened the last time these two teams played. We have to mention it if we're talking about this game. Cincinnati knows they can do it, Jake, and that to me is huge. If you know you can do it, you've done it before, that's obviously huge.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they'll definitely take some confidence into that. But I think the Chiefs will have the almost, I'll call it like the mental advantage, in the sense that, they've been here for the last 3 years. So whatever you did in the regular season is whatever, that's good for you. And I think it's a good point, definitely, for the Bengals locker room, that they're going to definitely buy into that and be like, hey, we've done this before. We know what we're doing. Like, obviously it's a little different in the playoffs and the game means more. So the guys, I don't think consciously are, but they're definitely playing harder because it means more. I don't think they're consciously not playing hard in the regular season, but they're trying to save themselves a little bit to make it to the playoffs. But for the Chiefs, I think they're just going to be, calm, cool, collected, like, hey, that's, good for you, pat on the back, we're a Super Bowl champ, we've been to the conference championship, I think the last 3 years. We're not worried about the regular season.
Yeah, well, and one thing that's a really good point about the experience, because who cares about the regular season, but one interesting, funny thing I've been seeing from the media, talking about, especially this is KC media, saying, oh my God, Joe Burrow's not ready for Arrowhead, he has no idea what he's going to. This guy played in SEC country. This guy has seen way crazier fans, way more fans, 30,000 more fans in a stadium than what you guys have to offer in Kansas City. So, look, I sound like a Bengals fan right now saying this, but I have no idea what that narrative is they're trying to create when this guy's literally played in front of crowds of like 100,000 people before, and they're trying to say that, the big KC crowd's going to throw off Joe Burrow. That's one narrative I refuse to buy into.
Yeah, I think Joey will be fine. I think that's just, Arrowhead plays on that a lot. And for some QBs, it definitely does make a difference because their stadium might not be as loud, or they might have not have gone to a crazy college division or conference. So I think Joey Burrow, Joe Shiesty will be fine. I think he's cold. I think he is mature well beyond his years. And I think he will just go out there and just try to do what he always does. I don't think he'll pay any attention to the crowd. But I gotta say, I'll be super interested to see what type of approach Cincinnati takes to kind of stop Tyreek Hill. Like the last
Mhm.
the last game, Tyreek was really good, and especially down the stretch. If you could get him going early, he's a guy that no problem could have a Gabriel Davis game. You know what I mean? 200
Yeah.
yards, 4 touchdowns. We've seen it before. So I'll be really interested to see how they deal with the speed of Tyreek Hill. I don't know if you have anything else to say. I know you got to run here. So do you want to switch super quick to
I
San
was just
Francisco?
gonna say the one. I wish I had these trends and stats in front of me, Jake. But I heard some really funny things today about the San Francisco 49ers. Pretty much what I've heard is Jimmy G has to play horribly and not even throw the ball once and not throw one touchdown pass, and they'll win.
They're 8
Because
and 2. 8 and
yeah,
2 with Jimmy
yeah, eight
not
and
throwing
two,
a
yeah,
touchdown.
yeah. And there's so many other funny ones that I've heard too. And I don't know. I think Deebo Samuel's got to have a big game running for them as well. I don't trust them. Look, I'm a Packers fan. Take it for what you want, but they beat us off special teams. You were there. Me and you watched the game together.
I called
So
it, bro. I told you guys from the start.
I know.
Defense and special teams was gonna set the tone for the Packers. If the
But hey,
defense was
but
rolling
Packers,
and the special teams were rolling, you knew you guys were gonna win the game. And
Aaron Jones had a straight line up the field and he turned to the left.
I don't want. That's one thing in that game I don't want to talk about. That actually cost me a bet, and it was so bad that I don't normally ever do this. I came home I woke up the next day, and it was so bad that I had to show my dad. I had to show him. I was like, man, what was he doing here? Like, this lost me money. Like, what was he doing here? And he literally, all he could say was like, I don't know. Like, maybe he thought he was going to catch him. Like, I don't know. And I was like, he ran right into him. Like, I need an explanation on why he just did that. And he's like, I don't know.
That's
man.
the best part when you're mad about a bet and you show somebody and they're like, I got nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing. But yeah, I think definitely you don't want Jimmy G to play bad because that just, motivates nobody. But the stats say, when the guy isn't playing that great, they do pretty good. But I definitely think that San Francisco is another. I think the dogs might be barking again this weekend, man. I don't know what it is. I like San Francisco's makeup. I like the way the defense is playing right now. And obviously, the Rams might be the hottest team in football. But we know Stafford has the ability to crumble. We've seen it over the course of the regular seasons. Through the 2 games in the playoffs, I think the Rams have done an excellent job of kind of insulating him and, giving him the right plays and the right reads and actually running the ball a lot more than they were at the end of the season to kind of cut down on those turnovers. But we know from watching the season that Stafford is still prone to having those turnovers. And if San Francisco's defense can come out flying and get after the quarterback and do their absolute best to just let anybody else beat you but Cooper Kupp, I think they have a chance.
Yeah, and as much as I'm talking smack, obviously their defense and special teams is great. And I think that game is going to be I think both games this weekend could go under betting wise. I really do. I think that game's going to be a smash mouth game.
Do you know the totals?
I think there's going to be, I don't have it up right now. I think it's 54 for the Bengals game right now, 54 and a half. Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute smash mouth game. But I will say this. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sony Michel or even Darrell Henderson after what we saw from Eckler. I mean, guy averaged 2.3 yards per carry, and he had 2 fumbles. How about that for a stat line for last week?
Yeah, so, not to be that guy, but Akers, just so people know.
Sorry.
No, not sorry. Just so people know.
Yeah.
You know how people are, man.
I always get those 2 guys confused. I don't know why, but yeah.
Similar names, similar players too. To be honest.
2.3 yards per carry, Jake.
Yeah, and I thought it was a big call. I thought it was a huge call to put Akers in over Sony Michel because a lot of people didn't realize from the month of December to January, Sony Michel led the NFL in rushing. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, I think it was 5 less quarters or something than him. And Michel had I think it was 10 more yards than him. So Taylor probably would have led the rushing for those months. But Sony was really good for them after, Daryl Henderson went out. Cam Akers obviously got hurt in preseason, so we didn't get to see him at all this season. I think you have to go back to Sony. I think Sony showed he's reliable with the ball. He actually is still a very good running back. And with the Patriots, he kind of got buried in the depth chart coming to Los Angeles. You thought you were going to see him a little bit more to start the season, and you didn't. They pretty much rode Henderson. And now that Henderson's out, he's starting to flourish. And I think it could have been very costly for the Rams to have made that decision if the game didn't go their way. I think that definitely would have been a talking point of why would you go to Cam Akers after you've had Sony Michel playing really well the last, 5 games. And for me, the Rams need to run the ball, I think. I think that they need to show San Francisco more than that they can just beat you through the air, because eventually you're going to start seeing, like, San Francisco can rush with a 3-man rush. Like, Joey Bosa's amazing. So him on his own, like, he can take on a double team, and I think he will get double teamed in most games. But Nick Bosa.
Yeah. And Stafford's not leaving the pocket running like crazy. We can't expect that out of him. We can't expect him to do that.
So I think there's ways for San Francisco to beat the LA Rams. And I think, again, I just feel like it's another weekend where the dogs are barking, and we're going to have a Super Bowl that nobody predicted. I feel like I said at the start of the playoffs that this year, once I saw the Eagles get absolutely smashed, I was like, none of our teams are going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a random Super Bowl this year, and we're just going to go and basically enjoy the game and bet on it. Like, nobody's going to be invested in it.
Jimmy G, it was funny, Andy, who we had on to talk about golf and NASCAR a while ago, he said Jimmy G looks like a model, plays like a model, and literally doesn't even have to throw the ball once to win a game. Think about this. If Jimmy G makes the Super Bowl again, for what he's able to do, he'll be the luckiest man on planet Earth. He will be. I mean,
he'll be a god.
He got to ride in the sunset with Tom Brady, in the Patriots, then be a starter in beautiful San Francisco. And now he has an unbelievable record in big games when he doesn't throw a touchdown pass. How about, like, it's just unbelievable, man.
You know how everybody makes the reference of, like, Trent Dilford won a Super Bowl because of, like, X, Y, and Z. Like, he wasn't very good. I feel like if Jimmy wins a Super Bowl, he'll, like, surpass that analogy. You know what I mean? It will be like, oh, you're a Jimmy G quarterback. We won't be talking like, oh, he's a Trent Dilford type or that type of thing. It'll be.
But if he gets there again and can't do it, Jake, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one. If he wins, it's hard. It's hard for me to understand if they do win. Like, where do you go? Because you have Trey Lance. Do you tell Trey, like, all right, one more year, buddy, like, suck it up. You know he's going to get hurt. Like, you're going to be playing here and there. We'll start including you a little bit more in the offense. And if they lose, like, say they do lose the Super Bowl, it's like, well, you just got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. Like, how many other quarterbacks do you think that are out there that could do that for you? And, people might say Aaron Rodgers, but, like, I don't think San Francisco is going to have the ability to trade very much to get him. I think if, the Packers and Rodgers did decide maybe it's a better route for him to get cut, which I doubt, because the Packers are going to want some sort of return assets. I don't see him land in San Francisco. So it just comes down to, like, do you think Trey Lance is going to make that jump maybe like Patrick Mahomes did from year 1 to year 2? Or do you run it back with Jimmy G regardless of what happens, and year 3 you reconsider kind of letting go of Jimmy G and starting moving towards Trey Lance?
Time will tell with that. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to these games.
Quick predictions before we get out of here, bro. I know you got to go, so we'll let you go. Quick predictions and we'll be out of here.
Look,
I want to score too. None of this flaky. I got them. I want to score.
You go first.
All right. That's fair enough, since I put you on the spot. I got my heart's telling me Bengals, and I want to bet the Bengals so bad. I think, honestly, I'm going to bet them because I'm probably going to end up betting them on the weekend anyways for not very much, but might as well ride with the dog. So I'm going with the Bengals. 32-26. 32-26.
Okay.
Actually, no. That's too low for the Chiefs. Chiefs are definitely putting up a 30 burger. I'm going to say 30. I'm going to say 33-30 Bengals. That way Evan McPherson can get in there, kick those field goals. And I'm going to say, as much as I think San Francisco is going to win, it's all or nothing for the Rams right now. They mortgaged everything to get here, to get to this spot. They don't have any draft picks. They don't have any first round picks for a long time. They're really up against the wall for the cap. Doesn't look like they're going to have the money to, necessarily bring everybody back next year, like the Von Millers they traded for, OBJs they signed. So with all that pressure, I think that the Rams finally do break through, and I think they break through in a low scoring game. I'm going to say that the score is probably going to be, I'm going to say 24-20. I'm going to say 24-20 in that game. And I'm going to say we're definitely going to have some sort of controversy with one of the QBs. Like, one of the QBs is going to throw a pick at a really bad time. It just has the makings of that game.
Man, that's so weird. I was literally about to say 24-17. That's really weird. That's cool. That's really weird though.
We both think 24 points, so we'll see what the team total is, and if it's if it's set above or below that, we know what we're betting.
We'll play it. Yeah. Give me. You know what? I'm going to say here. I'm going to say that it falls right on the point spread. I'll say that. I'll say 30-23 for the Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'll go with. So 24-17, 30-23.
All right, we'll recap that next weekend, see who won. I think we both picked the same. Oh, no. I picked the Bengals, so I got the only dog. All right, let's get the dogs barking. Let's go, Cincy.
I know, I'm being pretty square.
Joe Burr. I love that guy. When he comes out in his glasses, what a dude. What a dude.
Hey. Everybody says you can talk that ish or you can walk the walk if you back it up. And right now he's backing it up. So
he's looking like Cincinnati definitely. Well, they won the lottery when they got to draft him, but it looks like now like they didn't blow their money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're doing some stuff with it and it's looking real nice.
It's going well for them. We'll be back next week. More soccer talk, more football talk, plenty more here. Episode 44, episode 45 coming up next. Lots of exciting news coming. And hopefully, eventually, some in-person interviews will be on the horizon for Mayflower Sports. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.